Hi everyone, my name is Yohei. I'm here at Longy School, Boston right now. I'm having a great gentleman here, Tyler Reece, Associate Dean of Enrollment Student Life. Thank you very much for being here.
Thanks so much for having me.
Appreciate it. If you don't mind, can you just quickly explain the position you're doing here?
Sure, so I'm the Associate Dean. My primary responsibility is to oversee the admissions team. So I'm in charge of welcoming our new students through the admissions process and enrollment school-wide, making sure all of our programs have the right number of students, and also the well-being of our students once they're on campus.
So it's probably the right person to ask you so many questions related to music here at Longy. And I have a couple questions for you today. So first of all, how many students are in the music division right now?
Yeah, so Longy is about 335 students right now. Almost all of our students are graduate level, mostly Master of Music students. We also have a few graduate diplomas for performance and composition, and a Master of Music that is specific to music education or teacher training.
I see. So is that like instrumental majoring, or you already mentioned the composition, the others, but you can just quickly mention?
Of course.
Yes.
Yeah, we have many of the instrumental programs. We have an instrumental studies, keyboard, collaborative piano, vocal studies, brass, woodwinds. We also have a jazz and contemporary music program, a composition major, a historical performance major, and as I mentioned before, the teacher education programs.
So is that the master degree or including non-degree as well?
Those are all the master degree options. We also have some non-degree options as well, and programs and sort of workshops along the way, but those are all of our graduate programs.
So you mean for the jazz, also the master degree?
Correct.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's actually interesting.
It is, yeah. We're one of the few schools, I think, in the US to offer a master's in jazz and contemporary music, and it's a high quality program. I think it's about 25 to 30 students. They're all really quality players and improvisers and composers.
All right, so this is probably the most interesting question for everybody. So what distinguishes Longy from other institutions, big programs?
Right, I think there are really a lot of ways that Longy is different. I'll say that we have our roots, our origins come from a very traditional music education background. Georges Longy, who was the founder of our school in 1915, was a principal oboist of the Boston Symphony. And he came here from the Paris Conservatoire, and he wanted to make a conservatoire in Boston that resembled the school he went to in Paris. So we had Nadia Boulanger in our faculty in the 1930s and 40s, a really rich history of theory in particular. And I'd say our mission drastically changed in the mid-2000s. The board actually decided to move the school into a different direction. Instead of just training elite musicians, we wanted to start preparing musicians to actually make a difference in the world with their music. So that's still the mission of the school today. And while we have incredible and talented musicians, we really try to guide them through their time here, thinking about how they make an impact in the communities once they leave the school, whether that's through teaching or audience engagement, or starting a company of their own that engages their communities. We want that to be sort of the through line of the experience here at Longy.
I see. We'll go back to the first question. But you just mentioned no undergrad.
Yes.
That means this school probably will train to be a professional, or what is your purpose?
Yeah. So we really specialize in graduate education. We had an undergraduate program for a long time, up until recently, and actually, because Longy is a small school and we only have 2 buildings here in Cambridge, we were running out of space very quickly. And so we decided to focus all of our attention on the graduate level programs, because that's really what we do best. And they're small programs, but we put a lot of effort into making them high quality. So that's what we are focusing on these days.
So the other question is actually, what are the audition requirements?
Yeah, this is a good question. And it's one of the things I'm most proud of about Longy. We spent a long time thinking about the barriers that prevent people from accessing a quality conservatory education. Price being one of them. So we actually eliminated our application fee. It's completely free to apply to Longy. And on the back side of that, every student who is admitted to the program receives a scholarship package, which is not true of every conservatory.
All of them?
All students have a scholarship package if they're admitted.
Wow.
And that ranges from, some help to great help to a small handful of full tuition scholarships. So everyone who is a student at Longy has a scholarship package. The other important part about our audition process is the audition itself. At a lot of schools, you're given very specific requirements for an audition. I'm a singer myself. I did my doctorate in voice, and so I had to have a Baroque aria, and I had to have a classical piece by Mozart, and I had to have a French language song, and a 1950s or later English art song, right? Those are fairly common within my field, at least. But at Longy, we didn't see the need to restrict our applicants to very specific pieces. We want to actually see their artistic identity in action. So we just say 15 minutes of music. We'd like to see a couple different pieces, but it's your choice. And they don't have to be classical necessarily. So a singer could give us a Mozart aria. They might sing a Spanish song. They might be particularly interested in new music and show off a work that is by a peer or a living composer. They might also do something from Broadway or a pop song. We don't necessarily care. We just want to see the full range and the breadth of every candidate and how that differs from every other applicant. Because there's actually nothing I hate more than hearing the same music over and over and over again in an audition package, right?
Wow, that's very interesting. Wow. How long have you been doing that process?
Well, I've been at Longy for 5 years now, and we implemented a lot of these changes in that time. So for the last few years, at least, we've had these audition requirements, or I guess lack of requirements, keeping it more open-ended. We also ask a lot of personal questions. Why are you interested in this program? You could go to any conservatory in the US and be a better pianist, for example. But we have a very specific mission here, like I mentioned before.
Yes.
So why Longy? Why do you want to come here as opposed to any of the other schools? We offer something that's very special, in my opinion, and a curriculum, which I'd love to talk a little bit more about, that is drastically different from a lot of other schools.
So you mean for the instrument audition and interview as well?
We don't actually require a live interview, but we do have a video portion of the application where we ask students to talk about why they're interested in coming here.
I see. Okay, that makes sense. Wow. What qualities or what qualifications are you looking for a graduate student here?
Yeah. So I think the motivation for graduate school is a big factor for us. We don't just want to see someone who is only focused on their artistry. We want to see some thought going into why. What do you want to do after you graduate, and how can we help you achieve that? We're very interested in people who are breaking new ground in classical music, who are focused on accessibility, diversity in repertoire, programming, the things that have held us back in our industry for so long. We're looking for disruptors and people who are taking classical music into the future with some real thought, and also engaging their communities along the way.
This is my personal opinion. So do you think it's for 2 years is too short to be professional, or too long to be professional?
It's different for every person.
Right.
We have a lot of students actually that will come for a master's program for 2 years, and they'll end up staying for a graduate performance diploma for another year.
That's good to know.
Yeah, and it's great for people who let's say you really like the teacher you're studying with, right? You get another year of studies, and there are also fewer degree requirements for that program, so you have more space to explore classes, more performance opportunities, just to go more in depth. You do a lot in a master's program in 2 years, and it goes by really quickly. So I have a feeling a lot of people would say it's not long enough, but there are some people who come to us who they could probably launch their professional careers without a master's degree. And in which case 2 years might feel long today. But I hope that every student that comes here really can benefit from those 2 years, because it's a very personalized path. All of our graduate students in the master's program go through the Catalyst curriculum, which actually allows them to have a hand in crafting a custom degree program. So we have a small handful of required classes, and these are the things that we believe are important for every musician, regardless of their instrument or genre or style. But then below that, they have lots of agency and choice, and so you get to take classes that matter to you. It was the thing that I love most about Longy. I didn't go here as a student. I went to some other schools, and I was not very happy with the classes that I took in graduate school. I didn't think they were interesting, and I didn't think they helped me accomplish what I wanted to do in life. Had I gone to Longy, I would have had much more choice and a really interesting repertoire of courses to choose from. And if I wanted to do one particular thing, I could probably find classes here that would help me do that.
I see.
Right? Instead of just being in a very traditional program where you are required to be in every class, right?
I see. Okay, that's good to know. Okay, this is the last question. What are some notable achievements or highlights of Longy alumni?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think I'll answer it in two parts. We have a lot of alumni who've done very traditional things. We've had singers on the stage of the Metropolitan Opera, and we've had orchestral players win jobs in big positions across the country and around the world. Nadia Shpachenko just won a Grammy for an album she released on the piano, I think 2 or 3 years ago. So we've had people do really impressive things in the traditional sense. I'm actually, I don't want to say more proud, but I'm incredibly proud of recent alumni and just the ingenuity and entrepreneurial spirit they bring into the world after Longy. So a lot of the students that have graduated in the last few years, a lot of our jazz students will release an album and start launching themselves professionally. I know of a couple singers that graduated recently who've started their own arts organizations in the Boston community. The North End Music Performing Arts Company, NEMPAC, I think is what it's called, was started by some Longy grads. They're very active and entrepreneurial, they're creative, they're thinking about maybe the gaps in our scene in Boston and in the world really, and what they bring that could really fill those gaps uniquely.
Wow. We probably get questions on the comment after the release this video, but is there something you want to add more at the end?
Sure. I think one of the other big factors for us here at Longy is the personalized experience that we provide. I mentioned that it's a small community of about 300 students, right? So that is a 2-to-1 student to faculty ratio. That means you have a lot of access to super high quality musicians, arts educators, people who have done and are doing the things that you might be doing in a couple of years. And beyond that, it's a community that's fostered by our students. So, we've all heard of, and maybe some of you have been at schools where it feels very competitive. And like your neighbor is your competitor, and you might be friends, but you always keep your distance, right? I don't get that sense here at Longy. In fact, when somebody wins an award or does well in a competition, I see joy in the other students because they've watched this person struggle and go through a lot of training and work really hard to get to where they are. And that's the type of community that I would love to see leave and go out into the world. Because I just think that music is, it should be a joyful thing. And sometimes we have the tendency of making it far too competitive and honestly elite in classical music in particular. So I think that spirit here is one of my favorite things about Longy.
Wow, it's a very nice school.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, we're very proud of it.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Tyler, for your time today. And yeah, we can finish at this point. But yeah, it was very nice information for Longy, and we get more in the future if you're interested. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.